All right. Okay, so thank you all for showing up and being a part of this. Thank you so much for and inviting me to connect with you all. Um, so again, my name is Time Gelati, for those of you who don't know me. Um, I do have a bit of a script, so occasionally I'm going to be looking over at my notes. Um, and that's actually for your benefit, not for mine, so I don't go off on wild tangents. Um, but tonight's topic is meditation made easier, and and I want to thank you all for inviting me to do this. And I just have the pleasure of being friends with Emily Doe, who was kind enough to put in a good word for me about connecting me with your church. And I just want to acknowledge the organizers, because I think gatherings like this are a really brilliant and much needed resource for all of us. Um, so I think that this is like a really wonderful, wonderful thing that you're all providing. So thank you. All right. So it's a small group, an intimate group, but I'm really going to start off by asking who's ready to discover that about 98% of everything you think isn't real. It's a little mind blowing, but unless people have done like a lot of like intense inner work, or have had a meditative or inner cultivation practice, so much goes through our mind that actually isn't really real. Like it was real at some point in the past, but it's not really real anymore. And so when we can tap into what is real and let go of what's not, we have so much more energy and so much more peace of mind. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about how to meditate, but we're going to be talking a lot about what gets in the way of having a successful meditation practice, and how to move through these obstacles. So by the end of this evening, you're going to have basically three things. You're going to realize that you're not actually bad at meditation, because it's not really about what you've most likely been told it's about. So that's one. Uh, you're going to learn two meditations that have the power to make you feel much more ease and feel much more in control. And then you'll have a way of dealing with what gets in the way of meditating, as well as learning to hear and identify the inner voice of your true self, your intuition, right? Which is itself cultivated from a meditation practice. So it's kind of like this catch 22. If it's difficult to meditate, then we're not really able to figure out when we're triggered, when we're stuck in reaction, and we're unable in that moment to hear like the quieter, more powerful voice of your inner heart, your true self, your intuition, right? And so, once you get this, like once you get these things in a way, and you're going to get this tonight in a way that's really easy to understand and simple to do. Once you get that, like nothing can stop you, nothing gets in your way. So then it's just a matter of practice over time, uh, and and that's just putting in the time and the effort. Okay, all right. So I'm an acupuncturist and I'm an herbalist as well. I have offices in Linthicum and Annapolis, and until it closed last year, along with Daniel here, I was an assistant professor and clinical supervisor at the Maryland University of Integrative Health for over 26 years. Some of you may have known it as Thai Sophia Institute. I was in the class of 1994 when it was the Traditional Acupuncture Institute. And that's actually when I became more seriously interested in meditation and personal transformation. Um, and so, why am I focused on personal cultivation in general and meditation specifically? Well, honestly, it's because I believe that the more happy, present people there are in this world, the better life is for everyone, and myself included. So in a way, it's a little bit selfish, because I want the world to be a better place for me as well as for everyone. So I've been an acupuncturist for over 28 years, and in that time, I've treated thousands of people, and day after day after day, decade after decade, I've watched wonderful patient after patient after patient try to navigate their incredibly busy lives and their busy minds, and they're feeling overstressed, overworked, overtired, overwhelmed. And so you know, and this is just my opinion, but I hate to say it, but I believe that our society has gotten to the point, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, where the lifestyle that sort of like springs forth from the society that we've kind of created for ourselves, that for many people, it's simply unsustainable. Like they just don't have the resources and the capacity to deal with um, all the demands of life, the pace of life. I think that they're becoming sort of beyond what the human body and the human mind can reasonably sustain without some level or some degree of anxiety or depression or suffering, or at least some degree of pervasive emotional unease. And so it's just become so hectic, so demanding, and so rushed, and way too overstimulating by all of our obligations and what comes through our screens and our phones, that it's just difficult to connect to a deep, abiding ease and joy and a sense of flow, right? And so, how does this show up? Well, it shows up primarily, people are just like more stressed than ever. They're more reactive and overreactive, and a sense of deep suffering. And often, and again, it's self-selecting because I'm an acupuncturist. People don't come to see me when they're well, right? But people do seem to be a lot sicker and more unhappy. And a lot of my patients are on like multiple medications, many of which don't really resolve their physical or psycho-emotional complaints. And on top of that, participation is way down for community organizations and clubs and churches, because most people just don't have the time due to family and work obligations. So I want to help people break free from these patterns that keep us stuck and feeling stressed out and unhealthy. And if you are doing well, and I hope you are, but if you are doing well, like, okay, now how do I keep growing and experiencing even more success and more ease? So, in my experience, a meditation practice is really an important part of that, along with good food and appropriate movement and exercise. So, but so many folks have struggle with meditation. um, that's why I started doing like discussions like this, because we're going to go over what meditation really is, and then we're going to go over how to identify and transcend the obstacles that get in your way of really getting the goods from a meditative practice. Okay, and I think this is really the master key to get the deep, lasting benefits of all self cultivation practices, whether you're doing qigong or tai chi or meditation, like sitting meditations. You can get the benefits much more quickly while avoiding a lot of the frustration and dissatisfaction that comes up. Because once you're clear about what gets in your way and how to get past it, then it's so much easier. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? And in the future, if you have a question, just raise your hand, and either I or someone else will unmute you, and you can just ask in the moment. Yes. Question.
You are muted. Can you unmute, Patricia?
I press ask to unmute. Oh, there we go.
There. So, yeah, my question is this something to be done twice a day, like in the morning when you rise and right before you go to bed?
You can do it whenever you want to do it. You don't have to do it at any particular time. You can do it once a day. You can do it twice a day. You can do it 3 times a day. I'm going to get into the details in a bit, but you should do it at least for 30 minutes, and I'll explain why. But you can do it at any time. And I remember a teacher saying, I'd rather you meditate 1 minute a day than not meditate an hour a day. So you can do it anytime. Yeah. All right. Okay. So continuing on. So what do I mean by meditation? So meditation is simply a practice tool to become aware of what's actually happening, when it's happening, how it's happening, both within you and around you. And that's really it. It's a practice tool to become aware of what's actually happening both inside of you and outside of you, what's going on around you. And it's just a cultivation of conscious awareness. So some call it cultivating the witness or the inner observer, right? But you can call it whatever you want. But there's us going through life, and then there's a part of us that's watching us go through life. And what's even more mind blowing which we can get into at the end, not only is there you going through life and a part of you that's aware of you and watching and observing you go through life, but there's actually something else that's watching you observe you going through life. And when you can relax into that, you're just in this seamless flow. I'm not in that state all the time. I would say I get a couple hours every day, maybe. And when it's there, it's like, it's awesome. It's really blissful, because you're actually simultaneously so present that you're not really even aware of yourself. Everything is just kind of flowing through you. And it's a very liberating and gentle and joyful state. Yeah. Okay. But we'll get into that at the very end, I promise. All right. So meditation is not about clearing your mind. It's not about emptying your mind. It's not about calming yourself down. It's really just finding ease amidst the chaos. A calmer mind, a quieter mind, an emptier mind, a more clear mind is the result of a meditation practice. That would be like putting the cart before the horse, as it were. You don't clear your mind in order to meditate. You meditate in order to have a more clear mind. And this is where a lot of people feel like, oh, I can't meditate. I'm terrible at it, right? So as you meditate and you practice, you're going to go through a phase where it's kind of challenging, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But your higher levels of conscious awareness, as you meditate more and more and more, it will actually lead you to feeling more ease, as well as a greater connection to your true self and your intuition. And this is like a big part of it, is because the more you can kind of connect to your guiding intuition, and we're going to talk very specifically about that, and we're going to do some exercises, just the easier life gets. So we're going to go over some of the benefits of meditation. We're going to talk about how your thoughts and emotions and feelings can affect the flow of energy and circulation in your body and its impact on your health, just briefly. We're going to talk about the power of presence, and we're going to talk a little bit about what I call your inner compass, right? We're going to talk a little bit about what's called your heart mind. That's your like true self, your inner self. And then we're going to, I'm going to give you some exercises and guidance about the inner voices that are the sort of like the inner narration that kind of like goes through your head a lot. And we're going to talk about that in a way that's going to make it really clear, like so clear about how to identify what's chatting at you when your mind is busy, and how to put that into perspective, so then you can then have a little bit more control over it, or more power over it, so you're not so had by it. So we're going to talk about the 3 different voices that we all have within us. And then we're going to have a little bit of a practice meditation, and along the way we're going to do some exercises, and then at the end we'll have time for questions. Okay? All right. Any questions about that so far? All right. So another great aspect of meditation is you learn to discern story from phenomena. I know I do. I have a story or interpretation about what's happening, and that's not always accurate in terms of what is happening. So to me, it's about being clear about my story, my interpretation of what I think or feel is happening to me versus what is actually happening, like what a camera would see or what a microphone record. Because a lot of times, I mean, I know before I started meditating heavily, like I was in a constant state of reaction all the time, and I didn't even realize it. And I just thought like just all this stuff, this crap was like happening to me, versus there's just things that are happening, and I have the capacity to respond to them rather than just react. Okay. So maybe some of you can relate, maybe not. All right. So I'm going to advance the slide here. So hopefully you'll see a new slide come up. Do you guys see a new slide? Okay, great. All right. So why meditation? Why now? So as I said, a clearer, calmer mind where you're more responsive, you're less reactive, you're going to feel more in control of your life. Now, again, we don't control what happens to us, but we can control how we be with it. And that's actually where our power lies. And you're going to have a steadier body, a more calmer nervous system, right? And these benefits are actually going to affect your physical health, right? So I noticed I stopped having a lot of the old health problems that I was having, or at least less severe when I had more of this meditative practice. And you're just going to feel more grounded and still, and you're going to feel more like things are like just moving around you rather than you are in the tornado being like whirled around. You know, you're going to be more like at the center of it, and you're just going to sort of be present to what's moving on around you and within and inside of you. So some of the additional benefits not on the slide are, and this was like the biggest thing for me, was discovering a deep source of physical and mental ease. I did not realize how uneasy I was and how emotional and chaotic I was until I started meditating a lot. And I was like, oh my Lord, there's like a whole other gear here where everything just kind of like slows down and you just feel more relaxed. And with that, becoming more patient and less reactive and triggered, and just becoming more present to who you really are and discovering who you are not. And again, one of the biggest things for me is like tuning into and being able to hear that voice of your intuitive heart mind, so you can make wiser, more wholesome decisions that support all levels of your well-being. So simply put, it's about presence and being present, right? So being present is just living in the natural flow of the moment and throughout your day without judgment, without expectation, with more ease. Now, I'm not saying you're never going to be triggered, you're never going to be upset. I mean, believe me, I'm like half Italian and Sicilian. I get as upset as anybody. I get, you know, I am emotional. I'm very emotional. But it's like it comes up, it moves, and then it goes. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just a wave. It begins, it crests, it moves on. And so we're not so like stuck in it, like cycling over and over. And for me, that was a very welcome experience. All right. So here is a basic sort of image of how to describe and explain like what I mean by, you know, how this affects your physical functioning, right? So we have certain thoughts, we have emotions, we have beliefs, we have stories that go through our head, and that has an effect on our body, right? I think we've all had the experience of being in a really bad mood and noticing our body didn't feel so great at the same time. So of course, some of our thoughts don't really have much of an effect on our body and mind, but you know, many others do. So you know, when we are more in the flow of things, when we're more open, when we're receptive, like our circulation, our chi energy, our blood, our nervous system, our endocrine system flows more easily. So we have more function, and therefore we experience more ease. And then ease is really equal to health. But if we're in reaction, we close down, we tighten up, right? Things get constricted. And so that flow becomes stagnated and obstructed. And then over time, things start to malfunction. And then over time, there's a dis-ease process. And then eventually we have symptoms. Okay. All right. So the more we can catch ourselves quicker and quicker, again, it's not about never being upset. It's not about never being emotional, but the more we can catch ourselves when we're tight and we're constricted, the more we can take effective action to relax into that and open and soften. And we're going to do a little exercise on that. And so things can flow better. And, you know, it's just sort of intuitive knowledge that, you know, the better our circulation, the more our organs get what they need, the more our brain cells get what they need, the more our digestive, you know, organs get what they need, you know, so we just function on a whole other level, right? By the way, like when people like myself talk about chi, my best understanding of what that really is it's just bioelectricity moving through the body, moving through the muscles, the fascia, the organs, through everywhere. So it's a lot like rivers moving through the terrain of the earth, right? So it's not this mystical force. It's really just like bioelectricity and fluids moving through all of your body to every cell, and it delivers electrical charge, and it helps everything else flow. It helps the endocrine system work. It helps the blood flow. It helps your breathing, right? Your lungs to function and all of your organs. Okay. All right. So over time, the more you are able to meditate more fully, you're able to experience more ease, more flow, more health. Okay. All right. And so you can kind of see that on this slide. So we don't really need to belabor the point, but hopefully we'll be able to make all of the slides available to you all, so you can have these to refer back to if you want, right? So the biggest thing is, or a big thing from having some kind of meditative practice or self-cultivation practice, is I'm no longer resisting everything that's happening to me, because I'm not coming up with some kind of story or thought voice about it that has me tighten up. There's a great saying, sometimes we go through life full speed ahead with our heels dug in, right? And there's a lot of resistance to that. And when there's resistance, there's just little flow. All right. So actually, let me give you a brief example of this to kind of highlight this, and then we'll move on. So many years ago, when I was living in New York City, I bought a bunch of dress shirts for this job, and they didn't quite fit right. So I wanted to take them back, but I didn't have the receipt, but I had the tags on, but I didn't have the receipt. And I'm in the subway, I'm on my way back to the store, and I just became really aware that, like, I was sort of playing out in my head, like, how this interaction was going to go. Like, I was going to go to the store, I was going to talk to the representative, like at the customer service desk. They're going to be indifferent. They're not going to care about me. I'm a dummy because I've lost the receipts. Oh my God, I'm so disorganized. I can't find my receipts. I've really screwed myself this time. They're not going to give me my money back. I'm going to get into this argument. They're going to raise their voice. I'm going to raise my voice. I'm going to lose my temper. And in my head, I'm actually like getting into a physical brawl with the guy I'm returning my shirts to. Now, and I had no idea that this is in my head, because this is just, I'm just playing out the fantasies. I'm trying to okay, well, maybe it goes this way, and maybe it's going to go that way. But in every scenario, like, it comes out like we're fist fighting in the store, or the cops call and I lose my job and I go to jail. I mean, this is where my brain was going, right? So I go back to the store. I walk in. I'm like, man, I feel like such a dummy. I forgot my receipt, but I still got the tag. These don't fit quite right. I don't want money back. I just want to get another shirt, right? And so the woman goes, because in my head it was a guy, but the woman goes, yeah, no problem. All right, just hold on a second. They do their thing, and they're like, great, like, take this to the register when you get your other shirts. Like, that was it, right? Like what you would normally expect, right? I mean, and as I'm walking to get my other shirts, it hits me, dude, you're a mess. Like, this is not normal. There is something wrong with this picture. Like, this is not, like, I don't think this is like normal. So I kind of took like several months to really observe how I was kind of going through life. And I realized that 98% of what was going through my head was just nonsense. Just nonsense. And it was like, oh my gosh. And it was shortly after that I started going to acupuncture school, like about 3 months later. And that's when I got introduced to like the idea of meditation. Nobody said, hey, here's how to meditate. It was just like, hey, this is a good idea. And I was like, hey, I'll try it. And it sucked. It was horrible. Like I was just so bad at it because I couldn't quiet my mind, and all these voices like went through, my head, just like these, just like all of my patients, like to a person, except people who are like really heavy duty meditators. I can't do it. It's too hard. I can't focus. My mind's too busy. I'm too busy. Uh, what are some of the other ones? I wrote some down. It's frustrating. I never know if I'm doing it right. It's a waste of time. I've got more important things to do. It's all BS. There is no God. I don't know where that came from, but somebody just sort of blurted that out. I never said anything about God, but and to these people, I say, yes, these are all real and valid experiences in the beginning. In the beginning. So obviously, I mean, I ask you, like, does listening to these voices really make your life better? Like, does me like listening to this chatter in my head, like, you're just gonna have to fight for everything you want, to get what you want, you gotta fight, you know. Like, was that really making my life better? No. Like, does living by these voices really help us feel better? No, of course not, right? So here's the thing. So it is hard to step back from your reactions and come up with a better story about life and about what's happening if you don't even realize you're in reaction in the first place. And that's how I was going through life. I had no idea. I was completely in this like crazy mental fog, fueled by my horrible lifestyle and my horrible diet and my horrible life practices. And so, when I started meditating, it was, it was, it was horrible. It was just a really miserable experience. And I finally got a spiritual teacher, and I would call him up and I'd be like, this sucks. This is horrible. This is all BS. You know, I was just like so angry. And he was like, ha ha ha, keep going, click. Right. So I had to figure out a lot of this on my own. I didn't get a lot of guidance. So I thought, if I figure this stuff out, like I really want to help give people some guidance, because like I had some tough teachers, right? Um, so I really want you to understand that like meditation is really simple, but it's dealing with the obstacles that get in the way. That if we can deal with that, it gets a lot easier. So all of these voices, I can't do it. It's too hard. I'm too busy. It's BS. It's nonsense. There's no God. Whatever it is, whatever comes up, I don't need this anyway. It's all woo woo nonsense. We're gonna go through exactly how to work with these voices in a way that is super easy, super simple, and effective. Okay. All right. So just to give you a little bit of context, right? Mental and physical health. A quieter mind is a more resilient mind. You'll actually discover that you're more emotionally rugged and less sensitive. You'll have less rumination and anxiety. Your emotions will be a little bit more regulated, and you're just going to experience a lot more ease. And your nervous system, your blood pressure, your stress hormones, your body systems like sleep and digestion. Now, I'm not saying this is like this magic panacea. You're going to meditate for a month and like, IBS clears up and your insomnia goes away completely. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that as a lifelong insomniac since I was 14, like it has dramatically improved the quality of my sleep. I used to have like horrible night terrors. Like I would literally like wake up outside my row house. This is in East Baltimore, on my very nice marble steps, screaming. Okay. I would have these like night terrors where I'd be like sleepwalking. One time I even found myself outside at 3 a.m, like screaming, which did not endear me to my neighbors. So, and now my worst dreams are just sort of mildly annoying. Right. So, a lot can really change. And in addition, like just having your body function more easily is a huge benefit, right? So some of the powers of presence that come with this is just a general greater acceptance of what's going on. And for me in particular, like being like less judgmental and critical of myself and others was a huge relief. And just being more kind of at ease with what happens, and you kind of go with the flow, right? Like I just got back from a vacation in Europe, and for the first 2.5 days in Amsterdam, they couldn't find my luggage. So I had for about 3 days, I had one set of clothes. And it was kind of interesting. I was like, this is really interesting. Like this is like mind-boggling that this can occur like at this day and age. And I was just like, this is kind of a drag, but it's like, but I'm in Amsterdam. So we were eating good food, we were wandering around, we are having a great time. And it was interesting because this other couple that we were with, I actually had to keep calming down my friend, because she was going, this trip is screwed up. They're ruining your trip. And I mean, she was literally like getting angry and screaming and yelling. And I'm like, it's okay. It's luggage. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm just like looking at myself like, who are you? Like, why are you not pissed off about this? So this is what I'm saying. Like you over time, like you can cultivate a much more easy sense about it. I was having a great time. Like she was really pissed. All right. So just briefly again, meditation is about opening the heart mind and connecting you to your intuition. And this is going to help you make better choices, both from what you choose to eat to who you choose to spend the rest of your life with. All right. Can you guys see that, your inner compass? Do you see that? Okay, great. All right. And by the way, like when I first met my wife, she didn't really like fit my picture. She's a beautiful woman. She's an amazing person, but she's this sort of like California blonde hippie. And that really like wasn't like my thing. But when I was like really like with her heart, like my intuition said, this is the one. And so like 2.5 months after meeting her, I asked her to marry me. And we just celebrated our 25th anniversary. So this is what I mean. Like, it's not just like, well, I'm at Potbelly, like, do I order the soup and the sandwich? I mean, there's that too, but like this can really help you make a lot more wholesome, better decisions. All right. So this is, and by the way, because like I'm seeing the images of the people on the thing, but are you seeing like the whole slide? Okay, great. All right. So this right here, if you get nothing else out of this, because this really applies to meditation, but it also applies to your entire life. And this for me, when I was able to kind of like over many years figure out how to like articulate this, like this is worth the price of admission times 100. If you take and if you give yourself a year, and I mean that, give yourself a year to really get this, not only will you meditate more easily and more and get more richness out of your meditative practice, your whole life will be better. I guarantee that. And you have my contact information. So if you practice what I teach you to practice for a year and your life isn't like at least 50% better, like I want you to call me and tell me so we can go over this. So this is like more important than anything. So we all have thoughts, we all have impulses, and they're basically driven by three basic inputs. Okay. So on your left is the conditioned self. There's a great term in classical Latin called the habitus, like habit, us. And in classical Latin, that means the state that one's been brought into, the condition, the character, and appearance shaped by experience. The Romans used this term to refer to the self that was built for you before you were old enough to choose. And the sociologist Pierre Bourdieu actually borrowed it to describe the deep unconscious dispositions instilled in us from childhood that drive reactive behavior. So it's again, there's nothing new under the sun. It's like, I didn't discover this, right? So I'm just trying to articulate it in a way that makes it really easy for you to understand and apply. in every moment of your life. So there's a part of us that was sort of conditioned at a young age, right? Even like before you learn to speak, up till about like 8 to sometimes even 12 years old. And these really catch us, and you'll know you're caught because you'll feel more tense, you'll feel tight, you'll feel constricted, your focus narrows, maybe life feels like it's speeding up. You're going to experience some kind of unpleasant emotion, an unpleasant emotion. And they generally start with I statements. Okay. So like, I'm happy when this happens. I'm happy when that doesn't happen. Right. And most of the time it's going to be like I statements or I like statements, like you speaking, like in the first person. And they generally stimulate some kind of unpleasant emotion. Right. Maybe even something you might feel more depressed or down or anxious. You know, your focus contracts. You can't see the big picture. It often speaks to us in terms of our preferences. So like, I like this. I'm happy when X happens. I'm unhappy when Y happens, right? Like, I'm happy when I have my luggage. I'm not happy when I don't have my luggage, right? It's very conditional. And you could say, again, this is like the voice of like your little kid. And these keep us small using our shoulds and shouldn'ts. And the shoulds and shouldn'ts are not necessarily bad unto themselves. You know, like I should be honest. But some of our shoulds and some of our shouldn'ts, they don't align with our true nature. So they keep us kind of stuck in this picture of who we're kind of not and who we think we should be, rather than being at ease with who we actually are, right? So, for example, like, you know, oh, I'm so dumb, or oh, that'll work for everyone but me, or I'm too messed up to succeed, or oh, I'm too old. I'm too old. It's too late. You know, I'm done. You know, I might as well just pack it in, right? I can't change. I can't meditate. I can't clear my mind. I'm too busy, right? So all of these voices, right? They're so slick, and we're so used to hearing them that they catch us so frequently. So what will let you know when you're getting caught? These clues, and mostly in your body, mostly in your body. So if you set your intention every day to tune into your body, when you notice you're tense, when you notice your, you know, shoulders are up around your ears, right? I think I'm having a little stressful day, right? You know, like if, like the old commercial, that little itch may be telling you something, right? So your body is going to teach you when you're triggered. And sometimes you may notice it in your mind, but you'll often really notice in your body. Your chest will be tight, your throat will be constricted, your muscles feel tense, you feel anxious or depressed, you'll feel isolated, you'll feel embarrassed, right? You'll feel down, you'll feel crummy, right? So that's the voice of your habitus, your conditioned self. And this does create unease. And I actually would say on a deep level, this can contribute to dis-ease. All right, any questions about that? And we're going to do a little exercise in a bit to kind of highlight that. Any questions? Okay. All right. So the voice on the right, okay, that's your culture self, okay? This is the voice of you as a part of a collective. That collective could be your close family, it could be your religion, it could be your nationality, it could be some nationality, you know, any kind of like group that has an influence over you as you develop and age, right? So anything that you feel like kind of provides like a sense of identity beyond just your individual self, right? It's like part of like your sort of larger identity in society. And so this voice actually speaks to the first voice of your conditioned self, your habitus. So if it can be directed inwards, where it's more like you statements, or it could be directed outwards, where it's like they, them statements or those people statements, right? It has a lot of criticism. It has a lot of judgment. It has like very bad case scenario or catastrophic thinking. This is also where shame comes from. You know, the first voices of the conditioned self make you feel embarrassed. The second voice, it takes whatever you're feeling from the first voice and amps it way up and often piles on shame, right? So for example, like let's say you're in a meeting at work and you say something that's incorrect, or you make a mistake. So your conditioned self, your habitus might say, oh, man, I'm such an idiot. I shouldn't have said that. And that feels kind of crummy, right? But then the culture voice comes in and says, now everyone's going to think you don't know what you're talking about, and no one will trust you. Oh, right? Or maybe you aren't cut out for this job, and now everyone knows you're incompetent. Oh, right? I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, like it takes the first voice and it just amps it up to a whole other level of crappy, right? And now you feel often people, this is where people feel shame, right? Especially like around lifestyle issues or identity issues, right? So it just takes whatever you were feeling from the conditioned self voice and just makes it even worse. And it kind of creates over time a sense of isolation and separation. Because if I'm ashamed, if I'm embarrassed, if I feel, you know, like not just bad, but like really bad, like worthless, or I mean, that's an extreme, but if I feel like, okay, you know, I every now and then I make a mistake, but now I feel like it's my identity is flawed, right? That's going to keep me cut off to some degree from having deeper, more intimate relationships, both with myself and with others, right? So, so about this time, most people are thinking, well, that's all well and good, but what's this have to do with meditation? So first, you're going to meditate each day in order to connect and become aware of these voices. And the nice thing is there's not as many of them as you might think. Like I thought, I am so screwed up, I probably got 30 voices. Well, that's just another conditioned self voice. I'm just so screwed up. And then the other voice says, yeah, you're just nuts. Right? You see how it's just so subtle and so sly. It just feeds in on each other. You're just like, yeah, forget it. Why bother meditating? Because I'm just too screwed up. Right? So, but if you can become aware of them, it's uncomfortable. But the good news is generally people only have like a variety of like 3 to 4 types of voices. They're all just variations on a theme. There's really just a few themes. So you're not as screwed up as you think you are. So that's the good thing. And then the more you become aware of it, the more they won't be unconsciously driving you, right? So, you know, every day, see what it's like to set your intention, to pay attention to your physical and emotional clues that you're triggered so you can recover your observer more quickly, and just notice like what's going through my mind at this time, or what's happening in my body at this time. You're just observing. You're not assessing it. You're not trying to fix it. You're not trying to dismiss it. You're just like, oh yeah, that's there. Okay. So, and it's sort of like a scenario that kind of builds on itself. The more you meditate, the more you become aware of your voices. The more aware of your voices you are, the more quickly you catch yourself getting caught in them, the less power they have over you, then the easier it is to meditate. And the easier it is to meditate, the more you meditate more deeply and you become more aware. And it's just this cycle that just builds on itself. All right. The second thing is the more aware I was of my voices, the more I was able to put them in perspective, and that gave me more ease, right? And the more ease I had, the more aware I became of like my inner intuition, right? So let's talk about that voice. So in the center, the authentic voice, the authentic self, this is, you could say it's, for some, you could say it's the portal to the divine. You could say it's the source of that which something arises out of nothing. It's the source of your inner guidance. it's like the light of the sun. It's always shining. It's always broadcasting 24/7. It's always gentle. It's always loving, even when it doesn't, even when it's saying something I don't really want to hear, at least the conditioned self doesn't want to hear. Um, it's always softly yet powerfully guiding me. It will never, ever, ever guide you to do anything destructive or dangerous or weird or illegal. All right. It emerges spontaneously beneath or behind your superficial reactions. And it generally comes as sort of like this revelation or an enlivening inspiration or this really soft but powerful yes or yes to something else, right? And it's not always peaceful. Like sometimes it can stimulate a lot of enthusiasm or excitement, but with it comes a sense of ease and expansion and clarity, right? Because when I'm triggered, I am not clear. And I'm not going to make good decisions from that place, right? So when I'm tuned into this voice, my body just naturally relaxes more. I feel less tight. I feel less tense. And life slows down, right? And it really becomes the antidote to all that's like stressing me out. And it really helps me find my way through every situation because the conditioned voice is coming up with all these obstacles and reasons why I can't do it. And then the other voice is coming up with all these reasons and obstacles about why, you know, you just don't have what it takes to get success, right? So, you know, if I'm caught in these two competing voices, I can't be clear. I don't know how to go through because I'm trying to navigate it with my mind. And my mind has a very limited perspective on what is. This has an unlimited perspective because it's not from here. It's connected to something else, which, you know, what that something else is open to debate. But there is a something else. It resides within you, and it's always broadcasting and shining out 24/7 like the light of the sun. So at this point, I want to mention that like I have an inner 18-year-old that's very angry, and it always is telling me, man, this is nonsense. They're going to think you're crazy. And that may be true, right? And I also have an arrogant inner scientist voice that's highly skeptical of anything that sounds mystical or woo-woo. And so what I've learned to do is I go, yeah, thanks for sharing. All right, got it. Heard, right? Yeah, thanks. Good. So what I recommend is that you give these voices kind of a nickname, right? That takes the intensity out of them and puts them in perspective. And some kind of name that's playful rather than condemning, which helps to kind of reinforce compassion. So as a and what I found is that, like, you know, these aspects of ourselves, they're not the enemy. They just represent like a very young part of you that's come up with coping strategies, you know, for like for like a 2-year-old or a 6-year-old or a 12-year-old or an 18-year-old. They're not out to make your life miserable. They're actually trying to protect you because this part of our mind never wants anything to change because the unknown is terrifying. It wants everything to stay exactly the same, nothing to change. Even we want the status quo to remain in place, even if the status quo is horrible, right? So reframing these voices tends to lower our defensiveness and kind of makes it easier to observe these voices because it takes the intensity out of it. It takes the shame out of it. And so as an example, I sort of like a fun exercise, I explained all of this, put it into ChatGPT, and I said, come up with some names for these voices. So I used AI here. So full disclosure. So some of these I came up with, and some of these are from ChatGPT. Princess Fussy Pants. Sir Needs a Lot. The Drama Llama. I don't know where that came from, the Drama Llama. But I like anything that rhymes. You know, that's cool, right? The Grouch, the Angry Guy, I was also thinking about the toddler on Family Guy, Stewie. You may not know him, but Mini Me, just whatever it is, like some like goofy little voice, is the voice of your conditioned self. So it kind of takes the intensity out of it. So you put it in perspective, make it like, right? Because it kind of is, right? So it takes the heat out of it, right? The intensity out of it. And then the second voice, right? The voice of the culture self, that's like the world's worst sports commentator, like narrating everything it thinks I'm doing wrong. You know what I mean? Like, there you go again. God, what a screw up you are. Right? I mean, it's so funny. It's just now, I mean, maybe I'm the only one here that has these voices. Like, but like raise your hand if you have like if this it all seems like resonant to you. Okay. All right. So I'm not completely alone, right? So yeah, like and some people are just like so lost in it they don't even like realize it, like I was at one point. So I put it into Chat GPT. I didn't get some like great ones, but some of the ones that I thought were pretty good, like the Mean Girls, the Peanut Gallery. I realize I'm dating myself. This one I thought was cool. The Office of Unsolicited Advice, the Should Society, the Department of Second Guessing. I thought that was pretty cool. The Concern Committee, because to me it's like they're commenting, well, we've reviewed the evidence time and concluded that everyone noticed your mistake. They're all talking about it, and this will probably ruin your reputation, right? So you can feel like how that lands in the body. It's just like, oh, geez, right? So, I would come up with like some kind of name, like, oh yeah, there's the grouch again. Or one of my patients came up with Oscar, which I thought was cool. Yeah, that's just Oscar. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Um, and one of them came up with like the voice of their old gym teacher, which I thought was great because I don't know anybody that had a great gym. Mine certainly was horrible, and was also even sometimes physically like just he could be rough. So like you could call it like I'm making up a name because I don't want to put his name, like Mr. Walters, right? And so or whatever, right? So I would say come up with some kind of voice that just makes it more playful so you can kind of keep it in perspective so you don't realize like so you're not taking it so seriously because you realize these voices aren't from us. They were sort of like got developed as we were kids or at certain points in our development, but it's not representative of what is accurate and true in the moment. Now for the last voice, the voice of the authentic self, this is really, in a sense, the voice of your inner spirit. So you could call it something like the sun, or the truth, or the divine, if you want, or the source. I had one patient. I explained to them about the medicine Buddha, so he calls it the blue Buddha. You could call it Yoda. Whatever, right? Whatever works for you. That's the point. Maybe even call it, the nameless, right? Okay, so let's do like let's take a moment and see if there's any questions, and then we'll do like a little. Let's see. So we started at 7:30, right? Actually, let's just see if there's any questions, and we'll I'm gonna show you some meditations, and then we'll do an exercise. All right. Does anybody have any questions, or does anybody not like really clear about this slide? Because I really want you to get this. And I can also send you my notes, which is sort of like my little script, which go along with the slides, and it kind of illustrates a little bit more than what I'm saying. So if you want that, just email me or let somebody know and they'll email me and I'll just send them to you. So any questions about this slide?
Fern has a question.
Yes. Let's see if we can unmute Fern. I don't see Fern anymore. Is she there?
Hi, Tom. Can you hear me?
Hey, Fern.
So I have a question about the conditioned self and the I statements. So I've learned a lot about affirmations and how they are supposed to be good statements, and I know a lot of those begin with I. So how can I differentiate those from these type of I statements that you taught us with the conditioned self?
So I would say first, right off the bat, an I statement that makes you feel lousy or constricted or shut down or tight or tense is your conditioned self. I would say the affirmations are like you're trying to upraise and bring your conditioned self to a higher stage of development. And what I would recommend is sit in meditation and ask your deep heart, or whatever you want to call it, your heart mind, to give you affirmations. Because at a certain level, if you're just coming up with affirmations from your mind, it's still at the level of the mind. Now it's better, right? We've traded up, because when I say I can do it, like that doesn't make me feel lousy. But if it's not really coming from deep in here, I can do it is generally followed by, you're fooling yourself. That's just an affirmation. Now, I'm not saying everyone has that experience, but that's how I would differentiate it. It's like any voice that helps you make you feel better is a good voice. But oftentimes, until we are able to sort of live into our affirmation, it doesn't really feel embodied and sincere, right? It feels more like an aspiration, which is good. I mean, it's good to have aspirations. But it has to like land and become established like in our deep self. Because at that point, actually, you don't need the affirmation, because it's already living in you. You just need to be reminded. So it's not about transforming something. It's about, oh, I'm just remembering who I am. So what I would say is like, those affirmations are great. If they make you feel good, then more power to you, keep doing them. What I would always do is take it to the next level, is take these affirmations into your meditation, into your heart, and ask your deep heart to show you, what is like an affirmative truth about who I am, or where I'm going, or my goals, right? So then it kind of comes naturally from within, and oftentimes in that place, I'm very shocked at what comes through. But when it comes through, I'm like, yeah, yeah. There's like this kerthunk of, yeah, I get that. Like it's so simple and like almost like, well, duh, yeah, right. So that's does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions about this? Alex has a question. All right. I am trying to unmute you.
Hey, Tom.
Hey.
Hey, I had just kind of
Whoops.
a quick question about the kind of left versus right circles here, and compared to the middle. I'm just, maybe this will come out through the exercise, but I'm wondering if, as someone who's new to meditation like myself, would find it kind of confusing to try and label these two things on the left versus the right versus sort of just a binary, good versus
Sure.
bad kind of heart versus the outside. So just kind of
Sure.
wondering if you had some thoughts on that.
Yeah, you don't want to get caught up in the labels. All you have to know is, am I feeling at ease? Am I feeling neutral, which is usually ease? Or am I feeling unease? So if I'm feeling unease, if I feel anxious, if I feel inappropriately scared, you know what I mean? Like if I'm like, standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon, I'm looking down, like that's a little scary, right? That's appropriate. But if I'm about to do a meditation talk and I'm like, oh my God, I'm freaking out, like that's, there's something going on there. Like I'm caught in a voice. So if I'm also feeling like tense or tight, or things are speeding up and out of control, and I feel like tightness in my chest, or like a headache. Again, it could be like I just need to drink more water. But if it's like it's sort of binary, like I'm either caught or I'm at ease, or at least neutral, right? Like a content. So I would just keep it at that, and then just sort of pay attention. Is there something going through my head? Is there some thought voice in my mind that's creating a story about what's happening. Or maybe there's no thought voice and maybe no story. Maybe it's just a visceral experience. So you want to tune into that. And what does that feel like? And ask yourself, like, what's the energy that I'm holding here? And is there an emotion associated with that? Right. So, and then, okay. So now I'm going to go into like this meditation to move through it. So you don't have to worry, well, is this my culture self or is this my conditioned self? And how old does this voice sound? You don't have to go into any of all that. Just know it's like, I'm either at ease, I'm content, or I'm not at ease.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Okay. All right. So let's get started. So there's two practices. One is I call dip your toe in the pool, and the other is jump into the deep end. Okay. So, for some of you are like, man, I'm going to jump into the pool, right? Because like I'm an intense person and I go all the way, which is also a voice, by the way. So we're going to start with this one. So meditation is actually quite simple. And again, when I would start to meditate, I would start to think about all these other things, mostly about like, recreating like every bad decision I ever made. That was always great, right? So here's like an easier way to do it because it's a little bit more interactive, and there's like you can actually do something in this, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to sit up straight. So go ahead and sit up straight, right? Just like being in Catholic school, it's sitting up straight, right? And then you're just going to, if you can't easily breathe through your nose, breathe in through your nose. And we're just going to take a few settling breaths. And eventually you're going to close your eyes. It's not on the slide. I left that out, but you're going to close your eyes. And then you're just going to take a moment to just let your belly go a little softer and just a little looser. Right? Just a little softer, a little looser. And if you're able, have your exhale be just a little longer than your inhale. And then out loud at first, and then at some point, whenever you want, silently or just under your breath later on, we're going to make a drawn out sound like this. So I would encourage you to do it out loud at first. So the ah sound opens the heart. The l, where you have to put the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth, completes an important energetic circuit in the body that people do that when they're doing Tai Chi and Qigong. Like you see those like, older Chinese people doing like, they're waving hands around and they're, moving around and making circles, right? What you don't see is they're doing this because they have their mouth closed. You wouldn't see them doing that, but they're doing this. They're touching the roof of their mouth with their tongue. That completes this energetic circle, which you can do briefly with the l and then the ah, right? Which then opens the heart and is said to wash the heart. So as that happens, it stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, and helps to regulate the sympathetic with the parasympathetic nervous system, which in Chinese medicine is the parasympathetic is yin and sympathetic is yang. So we've got the rest and digest and the fight, flight, freeze, right? So this is a really clever way of doing a lot with just very little. And then over time, when you get tired of doing it out loud, then you'll just do it silently and just kind of mouth it out. And you want to make sure you're exhaling a little bit longer than you're inhaling. You can do it fast or slow, strongly or gently, right? But just keep doing it. And you want to do it for about 30 minutes. Why 30 minutes? Anybody have an idea about why 30 minutes? Okay, I'll tell you. So after 20 or 30 minutes, all of the monkeys that are running around like crazy in my head start to get tired and they just wear out and things just become quieter because it takes that long for the monkeys running around to just run out of steam and they quiet down on their own. So you'll be doing this for 20, 30 minutes. You're like, wow, like something just got quieter. Yeah, you did. Like, so all the inner voices just start to get quieter. But like, who here has tried to meditate and not make 30 minutes? Yeah, because it's so hard. I just can't do it. I'm just too distracted, right? Which is another voice, right? So like, who wants to keep plugging away at this for 30 minutes when you're going, oh, I got to send off that email. Oh yeah, right. I got to take dry cleaning. Oh God, this is not working at all. You're right. Like, who's going to sit for 30 minutes doing that, right? Well, now you are, because now you understand these are just voices. They don't mean anything. It's not you. They're from the people that raised us or had influence over us. And we're like the next cast on the Broadway play. We didn't write the script. We're just like the new cast that's come in and we're repeating the same words. We're just repeating the same lines. Like, they're not from us. We just inherited them. Not out of malevolence, but that's just the way it is. But we don't realize, oh, wait, I thought these were from me. They're not from you. They are not from you, and they are not you. They may have resonated a little bit, or maybe have some tiny kernel of truth to it, but it's not the whole picture, and it's not fully real, okay? All right, so you're going to sit up straight and breathe in through your nose out loud at first, then silently later on, or you could just keep doing it out loud. And you want to do that for at least 30 minutes. And if you want to do it once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day, that's totally fine. But just notice when these voices come up. Thank you for sharing. Yep, got your input. Thanks a lot, right? So you can then just keep going back to your breath and just let yourself go just a little bit looser and a little bit softer, all right? So one more, and then I'm going to open it up for some more questions. So the next one, this is more jumping into the deep end, right? So you're going to sit up straight. You're going to close your eyes. I know that's not on the slide. You're going to close your eyes. You're going to breathe through your nose. And you're just going to sit and breathe. And your intention is to practice not engaging with your thoughts, your emotions, and your physical sensations. Now, this is more challenging. I mean, for many of you, not all of you, it's going to be a little bit more challenging because in the silence, more voices are going to come up. And for me, with this one, more physical sensations come up. Like, oh man, my back's really sore. Oh God, my shoulder is so itchy. Thank you for sharing. Oh man, I got to send off that email. And then my mind starts to compose the email, right? And then think about when to send it. Now I'm engaged. 5 minutes later, I go, oh man, I really went down the garden path on that one. Okay, a little softer, a little easier, deep breath. Okay, let's go back to it. And all you are is you're watching yourself meditate and have your experience. So over time, you can have your experience without being so had by it. So the thought will come up, oh, you got to send off that email. Thank you for sharing. And now I just am just being with it. Oh boy, man, your butt's really get going kind of numb. Yep. Boy, that fire engine in the background's really loud. Yep. And so you're just being still and you're just practicing non-engaging and you're just setting your intention to just open and receive what comes to your mind through your heart and through your intuition, right? And you're going to do this for about 30 minutes. So this is a little bit more difficult. So let's just take a minute to practice this because we still have a little bit more time. So take a moment, just sit up straight, close your eyes. All right, breathe in through your nose and then breathe back out just a little bit longer than the inhale. And let your belly and your body go just a little looser, just a little softer. And you're just going to set your intention to watch yourself doing your meditation. Okay, very good. So, did anyone have any thoughts, emotions, or physical sensations while you were doing that? All right. Anybody be willing to share what some of them were?
So I just kept getting images of smush face cats. I think they just show up a lot on my social media feeds.
Also potentially because of
Just because
me.
of him.
They're my favorite
Okay, so
cats.
smush face cats, right? So again, that's not going to like make you feel anxious. That's good. So, so then I would ask my inner spirit, like, what's that represent? Maybe it's like, oh, it's a reminder to be joyful. And again, that's the best thing that your brain can kind of come up with in the moment as an expression of joy or whatever it is that you experience when you look at smush face cats, right? Um, so again, it's not always like, oh man, I suck. I mean, it's not like that's everything you think like when you're meditating. I mean, sometimes it's just like so much to do, you know. And so it's not always horrible, you know what I mean? but there are times when you're going to be triggered, and so like it's kind of like meditation's kind of like working out at the gym. Like I don't work out at the gym to be strong in the gym. I work out in the gym so I can be strong in my daily life. So meditation is what prepares us to deal with all the crap, you have to deal with in your daily life, right? Somebody runs a red light and almost hits you, or somebody won't take back the shirt you returned, or you've got something coming up and you're feeling very like anxious about it, or you're in a big crowd and you start to feel unsettled or unsafe. You know what I mean? So any other voices or emotions or physical sensations that came up? Chris, would you be willing to share? Because I saw your eyebrows go up a few times.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. I don't know, just yeah, like voice. I don't know. There's just so many different voices. Um, gosh, I can't really like categorize them. I don't know. It's just I haven't really spent so much time like analyzing what was going through my thoughts, but I was definitely feeling things and
Yeah,
yeah, and being like, oh, that's a voice,
great. Yeah, because
Yeah.
sometimes it's like a bowl of pasta. I mean, it's like the
Hmm.
din. It's like listening to a crowd. Like it's just so
Hmm.
noisy, but you hear words in English or your language, but you're not really like clear, and that's
Hmm.
okay. So it's like, oh, there's the din. Okay, right. So,
Hmm.
and again, it's not about like if you want to set your intention to identify the voices and then maybe like have something to jot it down with, like that's always like, useful. Um, but sometimes it's just like, oh yeah, there's the voices. There's that like kind of din or crowd, right? That's hard to figure out. Oh yeah, okay, there it is. Gotcha. And then you just kind of come
Definitely like a
back.
peanut gallery. Oh yes, yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah. And that's the time when every part of my body starts to itch. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
wow, I didn't realize my ears were so itchy, or wow, I didn't realize my back was so sore. And it like, but I don't give in. I just sort of be with it. I mean,
Hmm.
you can scratch your ear. I mean, I'm not saying like never scratch your itch, but just notice that these are the subtle things that come up that take us away from this deep state where the conditioned mind and the cultured self rebel against because it's to them it's like an experience of death, so they don't want to give up. They want to,
Hmm.
they're because they're fierce bodyguards, they want to protect you. No, don't go into the light, right.
Hmm.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that because
Oh, no
sometimes it's
problem.
not clear. Yeah, yeah. All right. So we just have a few more minutes. um any other questions or observations? Okay.
Marissa has her hand up.
Yes, Marissa, hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
So my question is, I've been trying to meditate every day in the afternoon, and the problem that I'm having is that I fall asleep. So
Hmm.
maybe something good is happening during that time that I fall asleep. Usually I time it for like 25 minutes, but usually after the first few minutes, I'm out. And then
Yeah,
I'll wake up when the timer goes off. And I don't know, maybe something good is happening during that time, but how do I not fall asleep? Unless
right,
maybe that's just what's happening. Maybe that's how it goes for me. I don't know.
right. Well, let me ask you this. When you wake up, when the timer goes off, how do you feel?
Um,
Like
I
in your body?
I feel very relaxed. I feel like I went into a trance or something. I don't remember anything.
Well, trance is kind of an interpretation. So, but like, notice how you feel. Like, how would you describe how it felt?
Um, Good. When I wake up, I basically am surprised that I had fallen asleep, and
Uh-huh.
I guess I just feel relaxed.
Great. So that's a good thing. If you wake up feeling disoriented and groggy and out of it and weird, then what may be happening, I don't know, but what may be happening is your conditioned self and your cultured self are combining to kind of knock you out, to not get into that deep egoless state. But if you feel good, like when you wake up, like your being just needed that. You're probably just tired. Yeah. So if you're feeling better when you wake up, that's a good sign. Yeah. That the meditation is a springboard to achieving a deeper state, um, that just happens to be below the level of consciousness for you. That's what you need in that moment.
Okay. Um, and then how I know you talked about, it's more important to do it consistently each day, even if it's just for a minute. But does it matter if you do it at a certain time of day? Should that be consistent as well, or it does not matter?
Whatever works for you.
Okay. Thank
You can even meditate on when the best time to meditate is.
Yeah. Thank you.
What feels natural and expansive and easy is right.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let me just express an analogy. So a lot of life is like being in a movie. I'm like a real movie guy. So an example is sort of like, you know, when you're in the movies, there's a certain there's a certain point of time when you forget you're in the movie and you're just in the movie. You're just like watching the movie. And so these voices, you know, as real as they seem, they're just sounds and images and sensations, just like being in the movies. You know, sometimes in a movie, I'll feel scared or I'll feel angry or I feel love or empathy, you know. It's like I'm actually having like a real visceral experience. I'm hearing words, I'm seeing images, right? I am having an emotional experience, right? All of that is happening. And so, but eventually, like the movie ends and then the house lights come on and you realize, oh, I was at the movie theater, right? So you kind of, so in a way, like meditation is becoming aware in the moment that you're in a movie and what you're watching is a projection of some other aspect of yourself that I am trying to help organize for your own minds as the conditioned self and the cultured self and your inner true self. So, you know, that's why you don't want to like take all of these like voices and feelings and emotions like, so when you're triggered, you don't want to take those so seriously because they may feel real and they may seem real, but they're not really real, right? So when the more you meditate, the more you're going to cultivate an inner observer, and that's what's going to bring the house lights back on much more quickly. When you go, oh wow, boy, I was really triggered there, man. Okay, a little softer, a little looser. Okay, what do I need to move forward? Right? So now you're coming back to presence. You're cultivating an observer. And then you can say, what's a better story about what's happening now that's going to help me move forward? Right? Okay. So that's really what all this is about, because meditation is really simple. But what I wanted to go over was, okay, how do I recognize these inputs and these distracting forces that keep me stuck because I'm been conditioned to believe them. And then these things that are no more substantive than a tissue, like they become obstacles to me experiencing real joy, happiness, ease, calmness, relaxation, well-being, right? And it keeps us from being present. And we have no control over that because now we're in a constant state of reaction. So we're not able to be responsive. And that's the more you can bring the house lights back on more quickly, the more you realize, oh, I have a lot more control over this situation than I thought. But it's the control that comes from, in a way, like surrendering to your intuition, which you now become more aware of because you're not spending so much time with these harassing, distracting thought voices and emotions and feelings. So I hope that that's clear. So if you want the notes, I'm happy to give you the notes or the slides. There's my email and my phone number. You can see the website there. So I'm happy to, you know, my door is open to you for as long as I'm alive. All right. Okay, so we are 1 minute past time. So thank you all for your attention and your willingness to come out. Oh, hey, Alicia, on a Monday night. And I would love to hear from you actually, like, if it's really difficult for you, just drop me a line, shoot me a text, call me, email me. Happy to discuss it. Happy to support you in any way that I can. My door is always open to you. So I wish you all the best. So thank you so much.
And Time, I'd like to thank you immensely. Emily spoke very highly of you. And of course, we love Emily. So I'm just so thrilled to have you here. And absolutely, as you were going through the points of the class, all I kept thinking of was this is a 2.5 hour class. And if you ever decide to give it, be sure to let us know because I'd be willing to sponsor you, whether it's through Rays of Healing or through my personal website. So anyway, but we can discuss that further because I kept thinking
That would be great.
you really need to get this message out there. I've had a lot of suggestions on meditation, but I think you hit home very, very clearly, very succinctly on how to still the mind, how to get rid of the voices. So I think you have something very special to share.
Oh, great. Good. Well, I would love that because I'm actually like trying to create a course around this. So I think
Yeah.
I will absolutely, follow up with that with you.
Okay, great. And then
Yeah.
you've got Donna's contact because Donna is the one who takes care of all of this. And of course, you know how to reach Emily. So that's
Yeah.
terrific.
Yeah.
And
Well, thank you so much.
yeah, and we certainly appreciate everybody's contributions because it's the contributions that allow us to keep going with this and to pay our
That's great.
speakers, which time is one of them. So
Yes.
anyway, but thank you immensely. Really, really do appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I just love this stuff. So great. And it's really helped me in my life. And honestly, just stick with it. Don't listen to the voices. Like, just thank you for sharing. Just keep going. Just keep going. Yes, I heard you. Thank you very much. Right. All right.
That was very helpful, Time, because it is so true. You started off by saying it's not clearing your mind. And I thought, really? Well, what is it then? And then when you said when thoughts come in, you just go, yeah, okay, thanks. And I thought, okay, thanks, go away. I wasn't trying to say, no, I won't listen to you. No, I refuse, which is what I normally try to do. And say, no,
we don't want to be in
blank it
resistance.
out. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah.
You're very
And
welcome.
thank you, Emily, so much for bringing time to us and sharing time with us, Emily.
Right.
My pleasure.
I have time to spare.
And Time, I don't know if you are aware of this, but Christopher Vincent, the gentleman below you, is in Hawaii. So
Wow.
we've kind of spanned the globe.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
What
it's
island?
Oahu.
Oh, nice. I've never
Yeah.
been to Oahu. I'd love to go.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty. It's the populated one. It's got all the cool touristy things, and it's currently 3:05 over here, so quite the time
Wow.
difference.
Mahalo. Great.
Yeah. So
All right.
anyway,
Well, thank you, everyone.
everybody have a great evening.
Take care.
Bye, Emily.
Bye-bye.
Nice seeing you.
You too.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye.